All right, boys and girls, let's open up our science textbook. All right, we're on page 216, which I have written on my imaginary board. What can weathering do? So, we're going to start talking about landforms and how landforms can change. How does the Earth's surface or crust change slowly over time? Okay, so weathering. Weathering is our vocabulary word. So, you can tell that because it's highlighted in yellow here. Okay. Animals, plants, and water and temperature are just some of the things that can change the Earth's surface. Weathering is breaking down of rocks into smaller pieces. This can happen when tree roots push into the surface of the rock. It can happen when animals burrow into the ground. Weathering is often caused by patterns of freezing and thawing. Okay, we know what freezing is when something gets cold, okay, and it turns into ice. Thawing is like if your grown up is going to make something for dinner, they take something out of the freezer and they let it sit on the countertop or the fridge until it's no longer frozen. Okay. Water freezes and thaws according to the temperature. As winter nears, the weather gets colder. Rain falls into cracks and rocks and freezes. As the liquid water turns to ice, it expands, it gets bigger. This widens the crack. When the ice melts or thaws, the rock is weaker. Pieces crumble and fall away. Little by little, the shape of the rock changes. Smaller pieces of rock may become part of the soil. So at the bottom here, we have a diagram. And you can see how this one, the first one, is different from the one towards the end. Let's see. Changes take time. Yes, these changes take time. They're not going to happen overnight. Changing seasons causes pattern of freezing and thawing. This happens is one way weathering happens. So water moves into cracks and stays there. So since the cracks are lower than the surface of the rock, the water is going to stay there. Okay, unless there's a way for it to get out, it will puddle there. Then the water will freeze if it gets too cold. Ice forms in the cracks. The ice takes up more space than liquid water did, so it gets bigger and it causes those cracks to get bigger. The ice widens the crack, and now pieces of rock may break off. Weathering has caused rocks to become rounded too. Freezing water and rain, freezing water had caused some of the rocks to crack. So you can see it also causes this formation we have back here. All right, now if you had your science books, it would say draw the next stage of this weathering rock. So you can kind of imagine you'd probably draw something there that's starting to break. Let's go to the next page, erosion. Erosion motion. Water, wind, and glaciers never stop moving. They carry soil, rocks, and sand along with them. Over time, this movement changes the shape of the land. Okay. So we'll be looking at all of those three major ways today. In general, erosion happens when soil, rocks, or sand are moved. This can happen like at the shore. They get very concerned about the sand getting washed away and the beaches becoming small, that there won't be enough room for people to be on the beach and enjoy themselves. Wind, water, and glaciers can all cause erosion. It happens everywhere. When waves at the beach wash away sand, that's erosion. When wind blows sand in a desert, that's erosion. When rainfall carries mud into a river, that's erosion. Glaciers are another cause of erosion. A glacier is a large, thick sheet of moving ice. Glaciers slide along slowly. As they move, many glaciers cut paths through the ground. They pick up pieces of weathered rock, sand, and soil. Glaciers push and carry rocks and soil as they move. Sometimes glaciers even move enough soil to form a whole island. Glaciers move very, very slowly, like maybe 6 inches a year. So that's not that far at all. So wind and waves cause weathering as they hit the rock, and then that breaks the rock into smaller pieces. And since that's broken into smaller pieces, it's easier for that to get washed out into the shore, which is what's happening over here. Okay. When this lighthouse was built, it was far from the cliff's edge, but wind and waves, wind and water, have weathered and eroded the cliff. Now the lighthouse must be moved to a safer spot. Yeah, because pretty soon the wind, the weathering rocks, and with erosion, the wind, weathering rock, and the erosion, that lighthouse is not going to have a strong foundation and it can fall. Wind and water move sand. This erosion causes one part of the beach to become smaller and another to become larger. Another part of the beach becomes larger when more sand is left there over time. Look at this second picture here. Erosion can cause big changes. It has caused this beach to become much smaller than it once was. Okay. All right, boys and girls, let's do some activities based on that.